in our electoral calendar. I wish to start with an update on the special voting exercise scheduled for Wednesday, 13th of November 2024. As is the norm, polling stations will open from 7 a.m. to 2100 hours p.m. inside the country and at Namibian diplomatic missions abroad. The Commission has successfully executed electoral activities outlined in the pre-election phase of the electoral calendar with a 100% execution rate. Furthermore, the Commission is well on track with the execution of the electoral activities outlined in the election phase of the electoral calendar. Here are the categories of voters who qualify to vote on the 13th of November 2024. Number 1 is members of the security cluster. This category consists of eligible voters who will be on duty on 27 November 2024. This category includes the Namibian Police Force, NAMPO, the Namibian Correctional Services, and the Namibia Defence Force, NDF. Second category is seagoing personnel. This category includes seagoing personnel who will be on duty on the 27th of November. The third category includes eligible as well as the who will on 13th November 2024 and will not have the opportunity to vote in Namibia on the 27th of November. So if you find yourself in a country that has our Namibian diplomatic missions, also eligible to vote. Voting 13 November 2024 is for the above three categories only. Eligible voters registered during the GRV should prepare to vote on 27 November 2024. Should anyone outside the three groups attempt to vote, they will be sent back and advised to vote on the 27th of November. The Electoral Act number 5 of 2014 as amended provides that special voting should take place 14 days before the election day, so as to provide an opportunity for the three categories of voters to vote. This provision and all measures that are put in place should signify to everyone that every vote counts. Therefore, our security officers who diligently serve to uphold peace, law and order, our seagoing personnel who endure long voyages far from home, and our citizens residing abroad who carry the Namibian spirit across borders, each one of you should seize this opportunity to go and exercise your right to vote. Your vote matters, hence this special voting day for you. The Commission has put in place the following administrative and logistical measures to ensure successful special voting on 13 November 2024. Establishment of polling stations. 33 polling stations have been established in all 14 regions across the country to enable the conduct of special voting in accordance with the law. The places in which these categories of voters are mostly located and voter density were amongst the factors considered by the Commission. For those outside Namibia, voting will take place at all 35 Namibian diplomatic missions abroad. These polling stations were established in accordance with the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act to enable registered voters to exercise their democratic right. Expected number of voters. During the general registration of voters, the Commission registered 2,159 eligible voters at all 35 Namibian diplomatic missions. However, I should mention that there could be slight variations to this figure because Namibians who registered inside the country but find themselves outside the country on the special voting day will be allowed to vote, provided that such citizens will still be outside the country and therefore unable to vote inside the country on the 27th of November 2024. Based on the information provided by the security cluster and fishing institutions, an estimated number of 8,000 voters are expected to cast their votes on the 13th of November 2024. Obviously, we had to ask the security cluster and the fishing institutions to give us an indication of the number of people that are likely to vote on the 13th, and the cumulative figure that we have so far is 8,000. Requirements to vote. According to the Electoral Act, eligible voters can only vote in the upcoming national elections if they were registered during the 2024 GRV and can only vote after presenting a voter's card, which will be verified against their particulars on the voters' register. No voter will be allowed to vote without a voter's card. I therefore urge our electoral stakeholders, including political parties contesting in the upcoming national elections, to extend this information to their supporters as an integral part of their voter education campaigns to ensure that on 13 November 2024 and eventually the 27 November 2024, voters only present voters' cards issued during the 2024 general registration of voters. The value of every vote. Every vote cast on the 13th of November 2024 and indeed on 27 November 2024 for the general voting contributes to the collective will of the people and counts as part of the final results. Your participation as voters is very important because it is not only your right but also your responsibility as a citizen to vote. For those qualifying for the special vote, I urge you to ensure that you go and vote. The power of your vote is both profound and invaluable, so I urge you to use this opportunity and vote on the 13th of November. While fully cognizant of the distances to established polling stations at our embassies, I extend special appeal to Namibians living in other countries not to attach monetary value to their vote, as some of them would be expected to travel some distances to the embassies to cast their votes. Your vote is invaluable, and it is your birthright as a citizen of the country. Please go and exercise it. If you do not do it, no one will do it on your behalf. Commitment to credible elections. The Commission stands firm in its commitment to ensuring that the elections conducted on 13th November 2024 for special voting and subsequently on 27 November 2024 are free, fair, and credible. We have dedicated substantial resources and planning to guarantee the integrity of these elections. Our commitment is unwavering to uphold the trust that you as citizens of our country have placed in us to administer a transparent and impartial electoral process. The Commission has employed comprehensive strategies and enhanced measures to safeguard the credibility of the electoral process. This includes employing and deploying 307 polling officials, consisting of 231 locally and 76 abroad. I'm now specifically talking about special voting. And requisite election materials to manage the voting and counting process on 13 November 2024. We have adequately trained the officials to enable them to discharge their duties with diligence. These initiatives are designed to fortify the voting process, ensuring that every aspect meets the highest standards of transparency and reliability. We have examined every detail and left no stone unturned in our preparations. I now move to monitoring of voting by political parties. The Commission wants to ensure that all set protocols are followed to guarantee transparency and retain the trust of all stakeholders throughout the election process. For this special voting, the Commission once again reminds all 21 political parties participating in the elections to submit and place their election agents and counting agents as required by the Electoral Act to monitor the policy of the election results. In the event that a political party does not present its election and counting agents, or those assigned do not show up, the process will still proceed as planned, as that does not invalidate the voting process. And a couple of times in our PLC meetings, we did request the political parties to give us a list of individuals that they want to use as counting agents. For some we've received, for others we're still waiting for that information. It is therefore very important for political parties to appoint election agents and counting agents in the best interest of our electoral democracy and the integrity of our electoral process. The election or counting agents are the eyes and ears of the political parties, and their reports assist in validating the process and contribute greatly to the acceptance of election results. I move to the counting and announcement of election results. Upon close of poll, counting of votes will commence immediately at all 33 polling stations countrywide in the presence of all counting agents of political parties that are assigned to monitor voting at each polling station. The presiding officer for each polling station will complete the prescribed election results form, which must be certified by counting agents, and announce and paste the election results at the polling station as required by the Electoral Act. The results from the special voting will then be submitted to the returning officer for the specific constituency for safekeeping, together with all election materials used on special voting day until the election day, the 27th of November 2024. Similarly, upon close of polls at polling stations established at all 35 Namibian diplomatic missions, counting of votes will also commence immediately. The presiding officer for each polling station will complete the prescribed election results form and announce and paste the election results at the polling stations as required by the Electoral Act. The results from all 35 Namibian diplomatic missions will be submitted to the returning officer who is located in the country for safekeeping. We have one official who has been appointed by MIRCO as the returning officer. So that is the individual that I am talking about. So the results from all 35 Namibian diplomatic missions will be submitted to the returning officer who is located in the country for safekeeping while waiting to receive all election materials, which are going to be dispatched immediately to ECN after the announcement of the election results as per the electoral calendar. Upon receipt of election materials, the returning officer will be required after the polls on election day, 27 November 2024, to verify, to collate, announce, and transmit preliminary election results to the Central Election Results Center, or the CERC as we call it, in the same manner that the 121 returning officers in charge of all 121 constituency collation centers countrywide will be required to manage and transmit preliminary election results. The final declaration of national election results by the Commission will therefore take into consideration the election results for special voting inside the country and voting abroad. Complaints handling during special voting. The Electoral Act requires the Commission to provide an occurrence book, we call it the OB, for recording any incidents or complaints at polling stations. In the event of any complaint by an election or counting agent or any person authorized by the Commission to enter a polling station regarding voting on 13th November 2024, I kindly request them to record such complaint or complaints in the OB as required by the Electoral Act, or to channel it formally to the Commission for consideration. The Commission therefore stands prepared to attend to any grievance that has the potential to impact the polling process, because the management of complaints has a great influence on how stakeholders accept results of an election. Assurance of secrecy of the vote. I will now address a matter that I know is of paramount concern to many voters, the secrecy of the vote. I want to assure every voter, be it during the special voting or the main election day, that the secrecy of your vote is guaranteed. The ECN has put in place measures to safeguard your vote. The ballot is cast in absolute privacy, and no one, absolutely no one, will know whom you voted for. This assurance is not just a promise, it is a binding commitment enshrined in our electoral laws and practices. Even the design and layout of the polling station provides safeguards so that no one present at the polling station is able to see who you are voting for. Therefore, I should encourage every eligible voter to go out and vote. Do not stay away from voting because of fears that you can be identified with your ballot choice. Please feel free to express yourselves at the ballot. Observing the Code of Conduct. The Commission met with the political parties at the head office in Windhoek on Friday, the 8th of November 2024, where they demonstrated commitment to the Code of Conduct for political parties and organizations as well as associations as stipulated in the Electoral Act. On behalf of the Commission, I wish to extend our heartfelt appreciation to all political parties contesting in the 2024 national elections for their understanding and signing of the Code of Conduct. This signifies their commitment to supporting and preserving the integrity of the electoral process in our country. It is important to underline that adherence to the principles of the Code of Conduct applies to the entire electoral process, including special voting. I therefore urge all political players to observe these principles as we commence the special voting process. We expect all political party representatives and election or counting agents to cooperate with election officials and vice versa to ensure that voting is peaceful and orderly. No one should be found obstructing the voting process or influencing who the voters should vote for. I move now to the requisite electoral activities in preparation for voting on 27 November. Establishment of polling stations. The Commission has established 4,677 polling stations countrywide, comprising of 1,621 fixed polling stations and 3,054 mobile polling stations. These polling stations have been gazetted and shared with electoral stakeholders as indicated in our media statement released on the 7th of November 2024. Recruitment and training of returning officers. The Commission recruited and trained 122 returning officers, consisting of 121 for all constituencies under the leadership of 14 regional electoral officers and 1 returning officer for the 35 Namibian diplomatic missions abroad. Accreditation of observers and the media. The advert for applications was published on ECN media platforms with the 31st of October 2024 as the closing date. Consideration of all received applications is at an advanced stage, and the Commission will provide further updates on the number of both accredited local and international observers and the media. But please, I'm giving you the assurance that before the 13th, you, as the media, will get your accreditation cards. And Mr. Seluka is nodding, so I know it's ready. Distribution and dispatch of sensitive and non-sensitive election materials. This process commenced today, 11th of November 2024, following the conclusion of the distribution and dispatch of election materials for voting abroad and special voting in the country on 13 November 2024. Even though the Commission has invited all 21 political parties contesting in the 2024 national elections to observe the distribution of both sensitive and non-sensitive election materials, we noted that only 11 political parties participated in this process. The Commission is urging all political parties contesting the 2024 national elections to take part in the ongoing distribution of election materials to ensure the integrity of our democratic processes as a shared responsibility. The Commission also wishes to share with electoral stakeholders and the public at large that a total number of 1,611,000 ballot papers have been printed for the presidential and National Assembly elections respectively. I underscore respectively. The 1,611,000 ballot papers are derived from the 1,449,569 registered voters, as we've indicated before, plus a 10% contingency, which equals to 144,957. Then rounded up to ensure an equal number of 100 ballot papers per ballot book. For transparency and safeguarding the integrity of the electoral process, the Commission has availed to every contesting political parties copies of the packaging and distribution schedule, which contains the serial numbers of ballot papers and the region, the constituency, and the polling station where the ballot books will be sent. Each political party was also provided with a sample of ballot papers to use as part of the voter education campaigns. So as we are talking, each political party know exactly how many ballot papers were printed, how many are going to which region, how many are going to each polling station, and they also have the serial numbers. It's just important for transparency. Training of election and counting agents and police officers. All agents to be deployed by all political parties contesting in the 2024 national elections, as well as police officers to be deployed to all 2,521 polling teams, will be trained during the period 9 to 12 November 2024 countrywide. Recruitment and training of polling officials. The Commission recruited 17,684 polling officials. who are unemployed Namibians to undergo intensive training from the 15th to the 23rd of November 2024 in cluster training centers established countrywide. These officials include presiding officers, polling officers, IT officials, collation center results verifiers, and logistics officers. I move to the issuance of duplicate voter cards. The Electoral Act requires the Commission to issue duplicate voter cards to registered voters who have lost their cards, the voters' cards, or whose voter cards are damaged. Such voters will be given the opportunity to apply for duplicate voter cards from the 18th to the 26th of November 2024. We do not issue duplicate cards on election day. So it's ending on the 26th of November 2024. This exercise will be conducted at all 121 constituency offices in all the 14 regions. While encouraging voters to keep their voter cards safe in preparation for the polls, the Commission urges registered voters who have lost their voter cards or whose cards are damaged to apply for duplicate voter cards at any nearest constituency office. The application for duplicate voter cards requires a police declaration stating the circumstances under which you are applying for a duplicate, as well as proof of the voter's identity. To ensure the public is aware of this exercise, we are busy running a campaign to inform the electorate. I move to the deployment of teams. Election teams will be deployed to their respective polling stations from the 25th to the 26th of November 2024 in preparation for the polls on the 27th of November 2024. As we approach voting on the 13th and 27th of November, respectively, the Commission appeals to all Namibians to maintain peace and order. Let us approach this period with respect, with patience and dignity, ensuring that the process is conducted smoothly and without incidents of violence. Our nation's history is marked by a long-standing dedication to peace and coexistence. This voting period is an opportunity to showcase these enduring qualities. Let us ensure that our interactions, whether at polling stations or within our communities, are marked by courtesy, mutual understanding, and cooperation. To all community leaders, I urge you to play your part in promoting a peaceful environment. Your influence is significant, and your guidance can help maintain the decorum and harmony essential for a successful elections. Similarly, I call on the youth who represent the future of Namibia to engage responsibly and encourage their peers to exercise their voting rights in a peaceful and respectful manner. We must remember that elections reflect our collective voice. Disruptions or acts of violence tarnish the democratic process and undermine the progress we have worked hard for. Peaceful elections are a testament to our maturity as a nation and our commitment to resolving differences through dialogue and democratic means. Let us lead by example and show the world that Namibia's democracy is one where differences are respected and unity is celebrated. Thank you for your attention. I now open the floor for questions, if any. Thank you. Facilitator.
Yes. Questions, Shelley? But just introduce yourself and the media house.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shelley Peterson. I'm a journalist for the Namibian newspaper and Digital Radio. I have 3 questions. For the special voting specifically, can you please just give us a number of ballot papers set aside for abroad and that for the security cluster here? I know you said you're requested for the number of those who will be part of the counting for the political parties. But as for the observers, what's the number of observers for abroad and then for the security cluster voting that will happen for the seagoers, of course?
Just a moment, Shirley, you are too fast. Number of ballot papers set aside for abroad and local.
For the special voting day. Number 2 is the number of observers expected for the special voting day. And for the duplicate cards, is there a time period for those abroad also? Let's say today, tomorrow, you realize your card is damaged. What can they do? Do they also get access to having duplicate voting cards? I hope that's the matter. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Good morning, my name is Vicky Divided. I'm a freelance journalist from Facebook. I've got a question in what numbers are the ballot papers put in these ballot boxes for the serial numbers? Is it amount of 20 or 30 or 50? That is my question, my first question. And my second question is, you said for the overseas voting, the returning officer will keep those ballot boxes and ballot papers until they are sent to Namibia for safekeeping. Now, where is the safekeeping taking place? At the embassies, as before? Is the returning officer an employee or an official of our embassies and other diplomatic missions? How can you perhaps just please explain that a little bit? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Ogito Gray. I write for Public newspaper and NMH group of media companies here in Windhoek. My first question is regarding announcement of the special voting results, whether there will be an official announcement or how that will be dealt with, bearing in mind that the results at each polling station are supposed to be announced there. I also want to know, will all those announcements be transmitted to the ECN immediately? Will you know what the result is at each polling station, and will it be made public? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions here?
Selima from NBC. I just wanted to find out, are you able to provide us with the numbers and contact the names of the presiding officer that was appointed by the ministry, and also just the returning officers for us to communicate with them if we need some details?
Abroad?
Yes, abroad, yes.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay. If there are no further questions, sure. I think we take it one by one. Shirley wants to know the number of ballot papers for special voting abroad, as well as the security cluster. That was the first one. Maybe let's take all of them. And the second one was on the observers, whether there will be observers abroad or that will be observing the special voting in country. I think that was the gist of your question, the second one. And how many, okay. And the third one was on the duplicates, the time period for whether that will also be afforded or accorded to those that are abroad. Okay.
Okay. So let me start with your second question, Shirley. The number of observers expected to observe the elections abroad, we have not received any request for any observers to observe abroad. All the applications that we have received are for the 27th and the 13th of November. And then the duplicates abroad, this is a question that we were really pondering on seriously, but it really became logistically not possible. So we have not made provision for that. We have not made provision, we've only made provision for in-country. I think the Director of Operations can then focus, or the CEO, on the number of ballot papers set aside for abroad and, special voting. Senia?
Yes, the total number of ballot papers that was set aside for the voting process locally, special voting and then as well as for abroad, is 8,800. 8,800.
I think we have done justice to Shelley's questions. We'll now move to Vicky's questions.
Brigitte.
The first one was the number of ballot papers in a book. Are they 20s, 30s, or 50s? The second one, it pertains to the safekeeping of materials by the returning officer for voting abroad. Where will it take place, and who is the employer of the returning officer for voting abroad? I think the chairperson did touch on it, but perhaps we're late. But Zenia, I think you can.
The CEO.
Or the CEO.
Yeah. CEO?
Yeah, maybe, thank you very much. Let me touch on this one. The returning officer. And I think the chair has touched it on her speech, that all officials that are conducting voting on the 13th November 2024 at all 35 diplomatic missions, these are officials from the Ministry of Information,
International Relations.
in the International Relations
And Cooperation.
MIRCO. So they are the officials that are already working at those missions. They are MIRCO officials. Similarly, the law also requires that all the diplomatic missions must be coordinated by one returning officer. And that returning officer is also from MIRCO. And that returning officer is located here at our offices to coordinate the activities happening at all our 35 diplomatic missions.
Sonia?
The number of ballot papers.
Are we okay, Brigitte?
It's fine.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I think there was the issue of safekeeping. The materials that we sent to all our 35 diplomatic missions were dispatched from our logistics stores. In other words, on return, they are sent back to our logistics stores where they will be kept safe.
The number of ballot papers per ballot book is 100. So each ballot book is 100 ballot papers.
Thank you, Zenia. There was to the announcement of special voting results, whether there will be a special or an official announcement, and whether it will be made public.
Zenia, you can take
Yes,
that.
thank you. I just want to explain the process of the announcement of results, which also pertains to the special voting locally as well as abroad. So what would happen at 2100 hours on the 13th of November is that the presiding officer will close the polling station, provided there are no voters still in the queue. So after the close of the polling station, the presiding officer would then commence with the counting of the votes. The Electoral Act provides that for every polling station, whether for special voting or for the ordinary election day, that the outcome of the results for that polling station must be announced at the polling station. So that announcement takes verbally, where the presiding officer would announce to everybody in the polling station, in the presence of everybody in the polling station, the outcome of the results for that polling station. The presiding officer is then also by law required to post the results at the polling station concerned. So once those results are posted at the polling station, the results become public. It's public information then already. This also applies for the foreign polling stations. In terms of sending the election results to the Electoral Commission of Namibia, they don't send the results to us because, remember, we still have the elections for the 27th of November, where the presiding officers are then required to submit those results to the returning officer with the results for local to be collated. I want to emphasize here that that's why I mentioned that this results already become public information at the polling station when it is posted by the presiding officer. So come 27th of November, the political parties, the members of the public would be able to see what are the results that has been announced for the special voting, because it's then when those results are then sent to the returning officer at the collation center to then be collated with all the other results. The same will apply for the foreign missions, because remember those sensitive election materials, like the chairperson has indicated, needs to be returned back to Namibia now. So that on the 27th of November, after 2100 hours, when all the polling stations have closed, the returning officer for foreign missions can then also commence with the collecting of the results for all the 35 foreign missions. So collation of the results for special voting takes place on the 27th of November when we have received back all the materials for the foreign missions.
Thank you. I think the last one from Selina was just a request for contact details. I think
that can be availed.
that will be available.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I was late. Mine relates to, I don't know whether you've addressed it, the issue of tender ballot. What is the arrangement with regard to tender votes? Because there seems to be confusion that I followed last week on social media. And so I just want to get clarity. What are the arrangements in terms of tender ballots and so forth for this coming year?
Sonia?
Maybe check are there any other questions, or was this the only question on in the second round?
Yeah, it appears to be the only one. Zenia? Director of Operations.
Apologies. Yes, the tendered votes, Mr. Nakuta, the law does not make provision for tendered votes anymore after the 2014. I know why you're looking at me like there is a provision that refers to tender. If you go back to the other section and you will note that provision of tendered votes of the 1998 Act, when this 2014 Act was done, and it's in fact one of the amendments that we have submitted, it was an omission on the two sections that refers to tendered votes to exclude those. Because if you read the 1998 Act and what it makes reference to with regard to the issue of tendered votes, those other provisions are no longer there. So the two sections that are there, you cannot read them because you're basically reading them in isolation. For presidential and National Assembly elections, the country becomes one constituency. We are voting for National Assembly and we're voting for one president. That's why at the end of the day you will note that, and it was the same in 2014, 2019. 2019 I think there were two constituencies where we had a turnout of more voters that were registered than the voters voted. But in terms of our provisions, we do make provision to record the number of people that had voted outside their constituencies. And then at the end of the election, we were able to account for those voters so that you can see the number of voters that has voted outside the constituency. So we have a form that we refer to Elect 27, and it's on this form that we record the number of voters that vote outside their constituencies. For accounting purposes.
Okay, there's another hand there.
Has your question been satisfactorily answered?
I really don't know. I don't understand. The law specifically I think it's section 100 or the 90 something.
I know what you're saying.
But it specifically, it talks about tender votes. And even in the definition, under section 1,